A warm welcome to the Young Hearts Run Free podcast. David, how are you doing this evening?
I'm doing really well, really pleased to be here.
Well, we're pleased to have you here. We are looking forward to our chat. David's a fellow podcaster and he's had a couple of glittering guests on his own podcast, the West Coast Ultra Pod. Is that his proper name?
Yeah, West Coast Ultra podcast. Yeah.
Yeah, cast. What's a cast?
Yeah, I'll just be able to find it in searches. It's fine.
Young Hearts Run Free Pod. Anyway, we like to find out all about our guests. So, in customary Young Hearts Run Free style, David, what did our listeners need to know about David Taylor? What's your running background?
Well, I'll tell you one thing. It was much harder being on this side of the questions than it is actually asking them. And I think the first question was about who am I? I was like, my dad, my husband, I'm an ultra runner, my coach. But I think the thing that kind of sums all that up is that I'm actually a bit of a dreamer. And I think that whole thing about stories and adventure actually goes through a lot of the stuff that I do and what's actually pulled me into ultra running and the podcasting as well. And just connecting these adventures in my head to actually doing some of the stuff. And if I'm not doing it, then I can find people to speak to that have done some of the cool things.
So no bad wee opening gambit, Johnny. I think there's some thought being put into that.
Some may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I like
know.
that. I like that, man.
I had a long run on Saturday. I had 5 hours of Saturday to think about the questions.
You mentioned you said that you're a coach, David, and we'll get to that. But do you have a coach?
I do indeed, and it's a friend of both our podcasts, Mr. Andy Berry. So I've been working with him since the beginning of the year. I've had a few coaches actually over the years, and I think so. I had Gary House, so we know Gary, Scott Brown, and now Andy's coaching me. He's about the best person I can think for the stuff that I want to be doing over the next 18 months or so.
I'm curious in life in general, but I'm curious about that. Were the coaches you've worked with, you mentioned that Andy specific to what you want to do now, was Gary and Scott specific? Or were you just on a sort of bit of finding out what works for you coaching wise?
Yeah, I think I was kind of finding out. So Gary, I kind of knew through a slightly different world. So he was even a kind of coaching program that I was on separately. And as I was kind of coming into this ultra world, I went, I know that name. So I caught up with them. Then I kind of went self-coach for a bit. Then Scott Brown's local to me, so I worked with him to up to including kind of Lakeland 100 last year, and then I had a break, and then I thought, actually, what is it that I want to get out of coaching, and who's the best person I can find to give me the kicks that I need and pull me back. Probably that's almost as important, I think.
Okay. I've got a quick question, and it's kind of going back a wee step, to be honest. You always been a runner?
Nope. God, no.
Okay, so that's where I want to delve into. When did running become a passion of yours, or a thing that you even done? Do you know, was it just a case of, well, you tell us.
Yeah, so I always remember. So my first memory of anything remotely long distance, and I'm talking 1,500 meters around the Ash Park at school, felt like purgatory. I don't know how long it took, but I definitely walked chunks of it, and I thought, this is just ridiculous. Past 100 meters was really pushing it as far as athletics went, because basically what I did in school and for most of my life was chase balls around. And that's what running was for, is to be able to be quicker at catching footballs or basketballs or whatever. So yeah, so it was always sports. As I got a little bit older, running kind of supported fitness a little bit, kind of to do the sports. And then I was in the army for a while. You have to be relatively fit in the army, and I think I went from being quite fit in bits in the army to not being fit, but it was always just to kind of support things. And I played football, just amateur football, up until I was kind of early 40s, and then I did a foot operation. So I was out for about 6 months with that, and it was after that that I then thought probably I might just shift from football. And I then because of so it was it's a thing called the Haglund's deformity. So it's like this bone spur in your heel, and basically the tendon rubs against the bone, which then makes the bone grow, which then rubs against tendon. So this golf ball thing at the back of my heel, and they basically go in, cut your tendon, shave the bone off, reattach the tendon, which is not nice. That's the bit that takes the time. But as part of the rehab, when I was kind of okay, I was able to walk quite a lot. And then I found this event called the Fan Dance. So there was a program that was in that people were doing all these different kind of challenges and things. And the Fan Dance, it's not as beautiful as it sounds. So it's actually an SES selection route, and you pay your money and you basically get these ex-SES instructors, and you just go this route as fast as you can. So you're carrying, it was £55 a kit. You got penny fan, run down a road, turn around, run back up the road, and then that's you finished. And there was something in that about it being really hard. It took me just over 4 hours, and I thought this is actually quite good fun. Although there was so many mistakes in that, it was something about just that endurance piece that made me think, this is maybe me now.
Fan dance.
Fan dance.
I'm stopping.
Fan dance something else.
That's your dialect dictionary word.
You've used fan dan before, but this is fan dance. Yeah.
Is fan dan short for fandango? Or is that a long version of it?
No, it's because it's penny fan.
Penny fan.
Yeah.
Okay. Can I ask how long your recovery was from that operation in your tendon?
It was 6 months.
It's a long time,
and it was because I've got a Halloween scar down my ankle. Basically, the bone it heals quite quickly, but it's the tendon that takes the time. And it was just long and boring. But I mean, it was getting to a stage. I mean, I left it a bit too long, and as soon as I showed the doctor, they were like, right, that's an operation straight off. And I think I was quite lucky because I got the operation during lockdown as well, so I managed to catch it in just the right window. But yeah, it took a while to heal, but I couldn't walk much more than about half a mile without it being really, really sore. So it's kind of needed to get done.
Have you got hairy legs?
Yep.
They've got that big scar.
Yep.
Right, okay. Do you show that when you're running?
If I get a chance to show people, I do.
Quite right, man. Quite right.
He's about jumping up on his desk there, John.
I thought you were going to lash your foot up on the desk,
So this whole thing then of ultra marathoning came from that grueling walking event. And then it grew for there.
Yeah, there was that, and there was a guy at work. So there's always a guy that you talk to, right? So, interestingly, the guy's Billy McLean, and he's torn his Achilles just now, like last week. So he's got so he decided he was still going to play rugby, and he's too old to play rugby. And we've all told him this. So I'm going to make sure that he listens to this show as well. But I spoke to him. And I'm sure there's lots of people saying, I'd love to run ultra marathons and when I did the fan dance, I thought I'll speak to Billy, because I know we spoke about it, and find out all about it. And he's I was like, so how'd you do this ultra stuff? So I found a 50k quite shortly after that, and I spoke to Billy, and he was giving me all the kind of top tips and advice. And I think and I still am just utterly immersed in just everything to do with it, everything from how I can get better to kind of stories about what people have done, and yeah, and it kind of snowballed from there. Kind of kept doubling my race mileage for a while.
Doubling?
Yeah.
What was that 50k?
It was Run the Blades. So it's the the cherry popping ultra, I think, for folk down this neck of the woods. It's a good race, and it's doable, I think, as far as that first ultra goes.
Is that Whiteley's Wind Farm?
Yeah.
Stevie Boy and I have been there. We've done it.
Oh. I was hillier than I thought it was going to be.
It's a cheeky hill at the end.
It was a day out, man. But mind you, we had a night out before it. What was that place called at Springburn, Stephen? Cosmo.
Oh, that was Riverare Way.
Was that Riverare Way? I get
your
your
excursions mixed.
Getting my
doing that territory mixed up.
That was that smell my pie. That was that night. Yeah. That was that. Sorry, I'm digressing.
David.
I'm going to digress again. You mentioned football. Steve and I are keen football fans. What was your position in playing football? Your preferred position?
Centre mid, because I got the ball more often than anybody else, and I got involved more. Yeah.
In your head, who were you when you put on that strip and positioned yourself centre mid? Who were you?
Oh, I don't know. I always like to think I was Andy Dorman, but they kind of. I'm trying to think in the early days. Simern fan.
Okay.
So
Andy, Andy Dorman.
That's the one. Channeled my inner Andy Dorman because I kind of was in and out football. So when I was in the army, I kind of played it a bit, but then when I left, I then properly started playing again. So I kind of really picked up football properly from just before I was 30. Then played for 10, 12 years, and then stopped. I did move back to centre half a couple of times, just because I was getting a bit older. But
that happens. But I don't think we've had a buddy on before. Have we, Stephen?
We have.
Have we?
Mark Gallagher.
Of course. Yeah.
There are a few of us.
Yep, and there's also a few buddies regularly in touch with us on our socials as well. So their ears will be perking up.
Brilliant. Good to hear. It's always good to ask the question.
It's a good season. Another good season.
Yeah.
To say.
Right, back to running. What year was Running the Blades for you?
It was 2022. So I'm fairly young as far as the ultras go. So I think I hit the fan dance. Then it was that Run the Blades was in September. It's normally in July, but that one is September because they've been knocked back through COVID. And then I thought, this is it. This is amazing. I've been out. I think before that, I think my longest run had been 15 miles. So there was a wee bit of a jump. And then I think it wasn't a race. The next long one I did, there was the Stewarton Ultra Runners. They do 100k at the end of the year. It's kind of local thing, just kind of a nice. I mean, I think when you speak to normal people, you see them doing a social 100k, they look at you as if you're mental, which is probably true. But yeah, so I did 100k, and that was a whole different ball game. And one of the guys, George, basically helped drag me back to Stewarton. But I was like, I made it, and I think that's one of my strengths is I'm stubborn enough to finish things.
I've seen you a couple of times out in the trails, the Fling, Lakes Recce. I was with Gillian McGill, bumped into you.
Yeah.
You were marching up a hill, and there was a stubbornness, resilience about you that I recognised. You also, you're like me, you're a sweater.
God, yeah, that's ridiculous.
And we'll maybe speak a bit about that. But then, so that 100k you did, what was that? Was that flat? Was it trail?
It's kind of a mixture. So it's round about kind of Ayr. So you start Stewarton, you get Galston, Lakeland, you hit the coast and Ayr. So you basically follow the river your way down to the coast. Then you hit Ayr. Then you run along a beach for what seems like about 300 miles, but it's 6. So I'm not sure, it's not that far, but you run along a beach, which is, it's not what you want 40 miles in. Then you basically hit Irvine, then head back inland. So it's good. It's flattish. So no massive hills, but it is there's some lumps in it. Yeah, it's undulating. I think it's the right word.
That word, yeah, undulating. Yeah. And then you're saying you're relatively fresh, wet behind the lugs for the ultra running scene. But in 23, you did Cateran Trail, West Highland Way, River Airway, and Glasgow to Edinburgh on the same year. What was happening? Did you get a bonus in your pay or something?
Yeah, I think that's the year I probably did it a wee bit. Yeah, some of it didn't work as well as I thought it could. But I think because I was doing the events and I was enjoying it, and I'd still almost that kind of beginner's gains. I wasn't really that fussed about. I'm still not really that fussed about performance, but it was this looks quite interesting. Let's see what this is. And I think at that point I was trying to find out the kind of events that I did enjoy. And the stuff that I didn't. So, as much as I think GB Ultras is a great company, I hate Glasgow to Edinburgh. I hated it. It's just not my cup of tea. It's just a flat thing. I know there's lots of folk like that. I've got a couple of athletes that run it. So I'm trying not to say that I don't like that, but that's not my thing. Whereas you go hilly mountains, it's like that's much more fun. And I'm probably not even naturally suited to that, but I just like that type of environment. So I think it was just a wee bit kind of shotgun and saying, right, I'll try this and see what happens there, try this and see what happens there, and just try to find the kind of the stuff that I enjoy doing the most.
And just a wee caveat, there's people on that flip at that side who Glasgow, Edinburgh is their ideal of heaven. And do you know what I mean? But it is, you're right, David, is trying to find that what works for me. And it might not be what your prowess is, but actually that's what works for me, you know, in terms of the environment and stuff like that. That's what it sounds like to me, that you've just been using those sampler races, just a wee 57 mile, 58 mile sampler race as you do. And then I would have just went, I'll maybe try and run for Cumbernauld along to Falkirk, and went, 10 miles, stuff that. I'll not sign up for that.
That's the first race I've kind of done that I thought I'm going to DNF this, not because I was in any particular pain. I was just like, I'm so bored. You know, if my family turned up at any of these random points, then I'm going. I knew they weren't going to, so there wasn't anything out of that. And also my phone broke because of the rain, because that was the rainy year. So it became an incredibly expensive race as well. But yeah, it just wasn't my thing. I was thinking this isn't me. There's no. It's just all about pacing and, you know, just keeping the right pace and fuel and nutrition. It's like that there's not enough stuff to entertain my brain, I think.
Not enough joy in there by the sounds of it. For you.
Yeah.
John loved that. He's a right boring bastard.
It's one of my favourite races because it was one of the couple of days I've had that I got all my fuel and nutrition bang on. So it was just, I felt good at the finish, you know. So
Great photo of John crossing the finish line, by the way.
Oh yeah, giving the big roar.
Although one good thing about that race was that was probably one of the turning points where I actually did get my fuel and nutrition right, because I got it really wrong on a race before that. And you know, so that side went well. So that experiment worked well. It's just the flatness just wasn't. It's just not my thing.
I was going to dive in there. I've got a personal question.
Oh, right, you go for that.
Because in 2023 in May, you did the Cateran Trail, which is going to be happening when this goes out on Friday. The Cateran Trail is the next day, and it's the first time that I'm going to be taking part in the Cateran Trail. So, what's David Taylor's thoughts on the Cateran Trail race, and how was your day?
Yeah, I really enjoyed that race. It was, I think, it was a kind of warm-up race for the West Highland Way Race. So it was a month before, I think. And I was basically just to kind of just check my pace and all that kind of stuff, you know, all my kind of my fueling plans. And it was a warm day as well. So, you know, given the kind of my ridiculously high sweat rate, it was that made it a bit of a challenge. But I actually really liked it because it was just a really nice mix of different terrain. There was fields, there was trails, there was some hills. The support was really good. You get a massive downhill at the end, which is so much fun. Because you kind of crest this hill at the top of Enix do, And as soon as you do that, you can see the campsite, and then you can just go, right, this is it. The problem is, it's not quite at the bottom. You hit the bottom, and then you still got another, I don't know, quarter of a mile to go. So it feels as if you've hit the brakes. But it's great. I don't know if they still do it, but at the last aid station, there's whiskey as well. And I remember thinking that'd be quite good until I got there. It didn't appeal at all. It was just, yeah. But no, it's a really, really good race and really nice mix of terrain. I think that's the thing.
Yeah. I think it's one that Steve and I, we've discussed this a number of times. It's on our doorstep, you know, but we've never quite managed it. I think, again, I think it's the day with the end of the football season. You know, it sort of comes at that time where, but I spoke to Bill Ayres at the Highlander event last summer, and he said 10th of May. I said, right, I'm in. So that's come around quick. So we'll see what happens at the weekend. And you're saying, sorry, Stephen.
No, I was just going to take us on to our actual question set.
Yeah, go for
That's
it.
where I was going. So, David, you talked about being coached. You're also a coach. You love running, you're coaching, you've got a full-time job. I'm assuming you've got family responsibilities.
Yeah.
How would you manage your work-life balance, if you don't mind me asking?
Yeah, this is a question
I also
ask. Yeah, so this is a question that I also ask people. I asked my wife this, and she went, "Well, right now you're not." I think was the answer. Yeah, I think that's probably the secret, is to kind of, with the people that are affected by different stuff, is just to have that conversation. So right now I'm right in the middle of peak training, so there's an awful lot of time spent out and about, particularly at weekends. So it's just, for me, there's a conversation I need to have, is about, right, this is what it's going to take. You know, do you need me back by a certain time? I think it's always the Friday night as I'm slinking off to bed, because then that'll determine, you know, the need to go up really early. But I think that's kind of, as far as the training goes, it's usually quite early mornings.
Yep.
To get the training in, and then that's it, done. And then with the coaching, it's once I've had the onboarding and we know the direction of travel, you know, for each of the guys that I coach, to have the conversation about how they need to be coached. So there's a question I ask about, how can I get the best out of you? And that usually stumps people. But it's a constant question. You know, some people, it's, I need you to give us a kick, I need you to push me. Sometimes it's I need you to just leave me alone. If I'm doing the sessions, then I'm all good. So I think there's that, and, you know, just planning that in. But quite often the coaching bit's not full on. It's just responding to people delivering sessions, which is cool. And I've got a good bunch of guys who generally do what they're told, which is quite nice. And then the podcast, it's utterly ad hoc. I've literally no real plans. I've got a bunch of people that I'd quite like to speak to, and I just kind of get in touch with people, try to get them planned in. And I've got literally, there's a bit of paper I've got kind of down there on my desk with who I want to try to kind of get onto the podcast, and who I've got planned in. And it's that kind of lack of planning has meant I've had to do some solo episodes, which is fine. Yeah, and I think it's sometimes a bit long hours, but it usually kind of works in. I think with the coaching and the podcasting, it's stuff that I enjoy, so it does. And I think that's, you know, even in my day job, I think the work-life balance, when I'm coaching people as well, it's, things only really become a problem if you resent doing them. So if I was doing the podcast and it was taking away from things, and I was getting annoyed that I felt as if I had to do the podcast, then that would be different to, well, I get to do this, you know, get to have all these conversations, and there's just a wee bit of admin around about it that actually makes it worthwhile.
Makes perfect sense. I did remember listening to one of your solo episodes about AI.
Yeah.
I was hoping that you'd be speaking to an AI version of yourself on it. I was both glad and disappointed at the same time that you weren't.
Yeah, I was. Yeah, there's probably a way to do that, but I can work that out. Yeah, that one
Next year.
was. I didn't have any. I thought I could make up some stuff, or I could just ask AI what they kind of, what the top 10 things about ultra run are, and see if I agreed or not.
It's all right. It's genius, man. I liked it.
Yeah, it's good.
Creative.
I've got two side questions. I think you maybe touched on this. What's your preferred time of day to train?
Mornings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mornings.
Mornings.
When you say morning, talk to me. What are you talking? 4 or 5 o'clock?
No, it's I'm usually up about like on a weekday morning, probably up about probably most mornings, but about 5:30, get the dogs fed. If I'm taking them with me, drag them out, then feed them. But if I'm going to have myself, get up 5:30, feed the dogs, then out. So usually out for 6, which means I then finish by 7:30, which then means I can then do the kind of school stuff and then kind of do all that kind of thing. So I still contribute to the house.
Okay. And what time do you got your bed?
Later than I should. So I'll probably go to bed. Probably about 11, back of 11. But I've usually had a good nap on the couch watching TV. So I think actual sleep I get more than the in bed time. But yeah, I can almost always fall asleep watching TV.
What's your body battery at right now?
Right now, 21.
What's yours like, John? You just like
6.
6.
I had a big weekend, man.
it only goes down to 5, man.
I know.
I'm
might
at
not
5 and you're dead?
I'm at 22.
I might.
One on a 22.
I might not make the end of this program. This episode.
John's got a big weekend coming up. I think you should be very worried about that.
Aye.
Sorry.
My other side question was: do you have spaces for coaching just now? Have you got slots? You do?
Yeah, I do. I've got a few more. I'm very conscious about how many folk I take on though, because I think I can probably take on 3 or 4, probably.
Okay, so this is a shout out if somebody's looking for a coach. David is somebody to speak to.
Get in touch. Link in my Instagram bio. If anybody wants to do that.
We can pop that in our show notes as well. Yeah. How do you become a coach? How do you become a running coach?
So, I've been coaching for years, through work. So I'm a qualified coach anyway through the International Coaching Federation, and I then, as I got more and more into the ultra running, I read ultra running textbooks. So it's like, I went proper geeky, and then I thought, actually, no, there's a qualification through USCA. So I did that. And there's an exam at the end, and you get kind of tested on it. But it's got like a huge syllabus of everything you need to know, from training theory through to all your kind of body systems and stuff. So you basically just do that, get the knowledge, do the test, and then you're basically certified. I think where ultra running coaching comes in is it's as much mental and mindset as it is physical. So you could go online and download a program, and there's tons out there, and for some people that's exactly what will work for them. But for some people, it's much more about, this is what we're trying to do. They need somebody to offer that kind of balance of challenge and support. The mindset becomes more important as you kind of go into the races as well. So what happens when you think, I can't be bothered, or I'm knackered and I'm broken? How do you kind of prepare for that side of it? So I think that's where the coaching I was doing before was a qualified ultra running coach actually works really well, because it's just as much about mindset as about the kind of the physical stuff, which I was probably geek out on anyway. So
I've got a question. I ask this of all coaches who come on the podcast, so this is no an exception. What do you think a runner? The app.
I don't know much about it. It's AI, isn't it? I think. And I think Strava not just bought it.
Acquired it. Aye.
Yeah. It's AI, and it will probably be better than downloading a plan off the internet. I think the the nuance of the relationship you have as a coach and an athlete, I think is you can't really replace that with AI. So bit of software that I use to manage my athletes has got some AI in it as well. And it's useful for insights, but it's that kind of difference between information and actual intelligence. So it's like, how do you get the data and turn it actually into intelligence? So you go, right, you've ran like this, but actually you felt like shite. So what was it? What was going on there? But if the data might have said that was a great run. So I think AI's got its place, but it's part of the puzzle rather than it's going to solve.
This was a really well reasoned answer to that question. You're the first person I've ever asked that to, so thank you, David.
It's a brilliant answer, and also thank you for explaining how you became a running coach, because a lot of people will talk about coaching folk, right? But there is a qualification that you need before you can call yourself a coach.
Yeah,
and you explained that really well. So thank you very much. Let's go back to the question set. Let's dabble in that. There's a question in there. What does running mean to you? Answer that in any way you wish. Is that a ton of beer you've got?
No, it's Aldi's own Monster drink, Dark Thunder.
Okay, Dark
Aldi's
Thunder.
own Monster.
Dark Thunder. That
I've
sounds
never
like
had a
it's
can
winning.
of Monster.
Neither have I. I've never had Red Bull yet. There you
Johnny,
go. Big reveal. Big
get
reveal.
that
Never.
in your drop bag last bit to rescue something out of
You're
this
flying up
Saturday.
that hill at the weekend.
Maybe getting to go to my bed tonight. I'm knackered, man.
Okay, body
Right.
battery of -5.
So sorry, David. What does running mean to you?
This was quite a hard question. I think one of the things is that there's obviously exercise thing, and exercise in one form or another has always been part of my life. So actually, when I went to uni, the degree that I went to uni to do was physiology, sports science, and nutrition. So it would have been good if I'd kept doing that, but I ended up getting a degree in medical biochemistry. But that kind of interest was always there, and I'd always played sport. And I think the middle-aged man kind of thing, where you then find ultra running, I think is classic. So that's kind of given me that kind of exercise outlet. But I think there's the community aspect. I mean, I train alone a lot, but I feel connected to community, and I do run with people sometimes. But I think that just that connection with a community is really important. But I was also thinking this. There's what I think is really cool about ultra running is that it's a problem that we get to solve or try to solve in some way. And I think that's got a huge knock-on effect for mental health. So there was a program I was on, a coaching program. I was being coached. That it was men, and there was kind of mental health, well-being kind of component to it. And a lot of the time, things can just get too easy, and people can create problems so that they get something to solve. Whereas with ultra run, there's always a problem to solve. You know, how to get better, how to sort out your hydration, your nutrition, all of that kind of stuff. So it just gives you a kind of real focus for where your mind can go. But also you get to kind of make up stories as well. Get to hear stories. You get to make up stories. And you know, when you're out running with people, all you do is talk about stories and things and people and times you've done these races and things like that. And before you know it, you've then kind of you then got an idea to go and sign up for something else. But yeah, I think that's it. But there's also a bit where I think it's like you also get to be really close to the very, very best people in the world, which I think is really cool. So if you think about, you know, I'm never going to be in the same pitch as Messi, but actually I could potentially be in the same race as, you know, Kelly and Jordan. You know, so that's really, there's like adventure and stories, and then there's like a problem solving bit. I think it's really interesting. But also I suppose a kind of a bit of a shout out. It can also be it sounds a bit, almost sounds a bit dramatic, but almost like a force for good as well. So much good that I think could be done. So things like, so I coach through Into Ultra as well. So it's a charity that helps people get into ultra running that may not have been able to do that. So it helps provide things like race entries, coaching, things like that. And also there's like the Green Runners as well. So I've been involved in Green Runners. I think it was actually not long after the start of it. And I think things like that, where there's a community that can mobilise around some really kind of really good things, works really well. So actually quite a lot in it, actually.
So you're actually giving a lot back as well then. You obviously
Yeah.
get a lot from them, you're giving back. Damien Hall was on, he spoke about Into Ultra.
Yeah.
Yeah. So again, we could put the link in the show notes for that as well, Stephen.
Well, I may be wrong, but did I see Into Ultra were looking for anybody with spare watches this week to send them in? They're trying to create a watch bank.
Yeah, they might be, and I think that's one of the things they do is like, so like, watches are kind of one of the things that it's not an essential piece of kit, but it makes the experience much richer. And I think, things like watches and kit, I think it's, really good. I didn't see that campaign, but it's, sounds as it is.
Yeah, we'll tag them in on the socials and stuff so that people can check it out themselves.
And also, listeners, if you've upgraded your watch and you've still got that other end hanging about a drawer, you've still got the charger for it, maybe you could donate it and somebody could get use of it rather than it just lying in a drawer gathering dust. So
it's funny, it's John's postal address that they've got to go to. Man.
Brilliant.
Do you know what I think, that one that you said there about getting to share the pitch with the superstars, and that goes for marathons as well. Do you know, even at the London Marathon there, do you know, you're running in the wake of the elites. Do you know, you're sharing the pitch with them. It's a good point. I never thought of it like that. It's good. Thank you, David.
What is 2025? It's May now. What's 2025 looking for? Like for you, David, events wise, adventure wise?
Yeah, the moment I've only got two events in. So we've got the Ultra Scotland 100 at the beginning of June. So it's like less than 5 weeks away. And then I've got 13 Valleys in September. So that's nice and tasty, that one. And it kind of, there's a kind of longer story. So I've got my the Bob Graham next year as well. So there's a big kind of lead, hence Andy as my coach. But there's that kind of lead in, and that was one of those moments. There was a couple of folk that came onto the podcast. So Andy was one, Jeev Singh was another, and they both offered to crew me. Now, whether they crew me or not, there was enough of me going, right, in that case, I'm just going to make that decision. Because I was thinking about doing 200 milers next year, maybe it's across Scotland or something like that. But I thought the Bob Graham, it scares me more. I'm not sure if I can do it or not. So therefore, that's probably the one that I should go for now.
Remind me, how many tops in the Bob Graham?
It's 42.
42, and it's the goal is to do it under 24 hours, isn't it?
Yeah. Just a big round from Keswick, and yeah, it's one of those. Again, like most people have heard about Bob Graham, they've probably read Feet in the Clouds, and get kind of fascinated with it when I first read it. It was all these kind of fantasies going, how can people do that? That's insane. And then slowly you kind of go, well, I know some people have done it. They're not superheroes. There's lots of normal people have done it. What if I do enough training? What if I get everything right, and then I can then do it? And then you think it's like it's almost, there's a bit of imposter syndrome in it, but at the same time, why not?
Yeah,
definitely.
You're a dreamer. You said it yourself. Dream big.
In 5 weeks' time, Ultra Scotland 100 miler. Remind us of the route of that.
It's 103 or 107 miles if it goes the low level route, but it's 103 miles, assuming the weather plays the game, from St Johnstown or Dalry to Galashiels. And yeah, so I looked at it, the DNF rate is quite high I foolishly assumed that was because the entry requirements, I think, is to just have ran a marathon, so it's not like you have to have done like flying or anything. But I was on the course on Saturday, so it's really hard. It's really, really hard because it's just running through fields and up hills. So it's just really energy sapping.
It's like those southern uplands are underestimated, aren't they?
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, like just you know, even when you're driving down towards Carlisle, take a look around you, man. It's steep, and pretty barren terrain. So, and is that then the race that's also the 200 miler?
Yeah, so that's kind of like almost like the kind of middle-ish section of the 200 mile, but 200 miles later on in the year.
Yeah,
So it's like
yeah,
it's
but
in
it's the
August.
same route.
Yeah, the 50
Okay.
miler starts at the same time as 100.
Okay.
And then they just stop as you get to Beta, I think it is. But the Race Across Scotland is like, it starts on the coast and then basically goes hits that part of the Southern Nottingham and then off to the other coast.
Brilliant. Oh, well, 2025, just the two races, but I think you've learned your 2023 lesson about over-egging the number of races. So two big races, and then throw in the dice for the Bob Graham 2026. That's exciting.
I was told to wind my neck in about another race. So I did. I've had a really, a really terrible experience in the River Way twice.
Okay.
And it's a couple of weeks before the 13 Valleys, and I asked Andy if I should do that. He said no, or he said it's probably not a good idea, which was a don't be stupid.
It's like,
Yeah.
Andy, tell me the answer that I know is wrong. I know is the right answer, but I need affirmation from.
Yeah. I know what I would tell somebody if they asked me whether they should do that.
Yeah, that's the one, isn't it? That's the one.
It's like
Listen,
my
your
wee
own
boy
advice.
asking to stay up after 10 o'clock. No.
We shouldn't gloss over. We're speaking about 23, we're speaking about 25. We shouldn't gloss over 24. You're quite a momentous 24 doing the fling in April, but then completing the Lakeland 100. We're doing the lakes. I never got any further than Braithwaite last year. How was the Lakeland 100 for you?
I loved it. It was just a big adventure. There was so much to it because you're out for so long. There was just different sections. Of course, I'd managed to get down on a couple of recce's as well. I think that definitely helped. So that descent into Braithwaite, I knew that there was a descent into Braithwaite, so that was quite nice. And then that grass. So we did the recce. I don't know how you found it, but there was people falling over and sliding down that grassy hill down there. But yeah, it was amazing. There was so many ups and downs. That coach road to Dockery was horrific. I didn't snap at the guy, but he did say he asked me how it was, and I was like, I'm feeling like absolute shit, basically. And it rained all night, and I was just a bit annoyed at everything. And I was thinking, I know I'm annoyed, but I know that's fine. I'm just having a really pissed off moment, and I don't like this bit, and this is rubbish. And then you come up with those signs coming into Dockery that tell you that it's your own fault, and they just slag you off and tell you how hard it is and how much of a wuss you are. And then I finished the race stronger than I felt, and so I got a second wind at 98 miles in at the kind of the second virtual checkpoint. I was like, I wonder what happens if I just start running, and I picked off tons of folk, and I kind of ran into it and thought, well, that was interesting. Yeah, and I think, don't know whether it's because there was so many people that looked like death on the way in. The Tilberthwaite one where they're having their cheese toasties and you get people around the campfire staring into the flames, and I was like, oh, I'm feeling great now.
So, given what you've got coming up, it's a big ask, the Lakeland 100. Would you go back? Did you learn lessons there?
Yeah. I think I could have pushed a bit harder. So there was times that I think I just get a bit, not bored, it's not the right word, but I think I took the foot off the gas when I didn't really have to. And I think events as long as that, you can, it's just that balance of how much you can push against for how long. And I think there's, one of the biggest things that I've learned is about feeling, and feeling properly. And I think it was a wee bit up and down. I think by the time I got to Braithwaite, I was really dehydrated, but I just about caught it in time. And I think that was something that I could have was quite lucky with. But then I hadn't quite ate enough, so that the fueling thing was really big, and that needs to get, for me, certainly it needs to get paired with hydration massively, because it can have a huge impact. And even during the fling, I noticed when I switched from hydration tabs to Tailwind, which gets slightly less sodium in it, I kind of felt, I mean, 40 odd miles into a race, but I started to feel the effects of that. So there's the feeling and hydration, and then being a bit of a wuss at times and just going, I'll just take my foot off the gas when I probably didn't need to. I think I was capable of doing much better than I did. But it was, I've never ran a race as long as that. So there's lessons, and how strong I finished, I think was really interesting, because I thought, actually, that's, there's clearly enough in there that, was there something about the second night of no sleep that kind of affected me, or I don't know. But it was, I think I could have pushed harder. And I think, spoke to Andy about it as well when we were starting the coaching, and how to keep connected in with the actual race, rather than just that, I'm just out for a bimble in the hills with my poles, and I've got this bunch of folk with me, and the chat's all nice. That's fine, but also there's maybe a bit more business to be done.
That's mindset, isn't it?
Yeah.
Andy Berry's a good guy to have on board for that
Yeah.
sort of gig. 100%, man. Interesting, brilliant answer. Thank you very much, Stephen. Is it appropriate now to speak about nutrition and hydration, given what David just said?
I think it's appropriate to speak about a couple of things, and that is one of them, John. So
because
let's do it.
Yeah, salt tabs is another thing that we've spoke about. I struggle with them. Stephen takes them. I struggle with them because it just makes me have a raging thirst for days if I take them. What works for David Taylor?
Not salt tabs. So there's some moments that are kind of almost inflection points where you go, right, this thing's shifted. So the first, second time I did the Riviera Way, I'd had a whole year's extra training, and it went even worse. And I was like, I have no idea why that was. It was just I cramped up from about 17, 18 miles in, and I just couldn't get rid of it, and I just didn't understand it. So my training's been really good, and I just don't understand what's happening. So I had a consultation with Precision Fuel and Hydration.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, right, what is it that's going on? Because I don't understand. I don't understand this. I had enough water and blah blah. And then I spoke to them, and we kind of went, right, this is roughly how much sodium you need. This is roughly how much fluid you're taking, and that was a game changer. But when I looked at the salt chew things,
yep,
I was going to have to get to be kind of on point. I was going to have to take 20 of them an hour. Yeah, I was just like, that's not happening. So it's like I think I need about a gram of sodium an hour, and about a litre of fluid an hour to kind of keep where I am. And then 2 of those salt chew things were like 100 milligrams. It's not happening. So that's when I did the Glasgow to Edinburgh. I kind of really focused in on the salt, and it was a game changer. And just that kind of that flex. So what I do now, and I'm still playing about with it, is you get these high five hydration things, and I use them because they're considerably cheaper than the Precision ones. But you can get them. They've got like 250 milligrams. So one of them in each salt flask, and that keeps me fine.
A litre of water an hour is a lot as well.
Right, and I reckon I can do more than that as well. That's
Right. Okay, so that's how you're getting your salts in. And that, what hydration do you use? Is it the high five stuff? Are you with precision for the other stuff, or just high five?
It's just high five. I think I might for races I might go for the precision stuff just because it's higher concentration of salt. But you can, and I think it was Stu Johnson actually put me onto this when he came on to talk to you guys after the West Highland Way Race. You get sodium citrate, so you can use that in a drink mix, and you get a spoon of a spoon of that, and it's like a gram of salt, and and it doesn't taste salty, which is really nice. And you can put some diluting juice or something in it, and it's fine. If you want to put caster sugar, then you can do. But I've kind of gone off that slightly because I think it was too much of a carb dump.
Okay. What about the other stuff? What you're eating? We spoke to Andy Berry. He did the Lakes on gels because he's rattling around there fast. He's doing the whole lot on gels. How do you fuel your? How did you fuel your lakes?
The lakes was whatever there was available, and I tried to take what I found that I was doing is I was coming into checkpoints and trying to work out how many calories were in the different things, and then I'll take 300 or 400 calories if I can of that, and then that's probably give or take somewhere between 1,700 grams of carbs, and that should totally keep me going to the next bit. So, and because you were kind of, unless you took stuff in your drop bag, you were kind of limited to what they had at the checkpoints. And that's kind of how I was doing. So I was trying to be fairly flexible. So I was sitting down, having sandwiches and just whatever I thought I could get down. But if I could choose, I've got two things. I've got the sports nutrition side, and then I've got the other answer, which is a bit more fun. So I remember one of the things that Andy had said, that you just basically I think you guys asked him if he was hungry after having all those gels, and he went, "Well, yeah, but I just told my stomach to shut up." I was like, "That's actually right," because he knew he was getting what he needed. So there was a bit of that. But there's two things. There's Voom bars work really, really well for me. I can take them at pretty much any intensity. So I took them on Glen Ogle. I think I had 9 of them on Glen Ogle, and they seem to work fine. Obviously, I'm drinking that caffeinated drink. I'm pretty tolerant to caffeine, so I can take all of them pretty well. So Voom bars is my go-to, and I could probably fuel a whole race with that, and I'm going to look and see if I could just do that. But something that one of the guys down in Ayrshire who was on my podcast put me onto, Ricky, was hot cross buns, loads of butter and cheese, and they work. They sit pretty well. And they get 40 grams of carbs in the hot cross bun. They're actually quite tasty. They don't take up too much space, and they're a lot cheaper than Voom bars.
What kind of cheese you talking about?
Regular mature cheddar.
Good
Brand.
Lashings of butter.
What brand? Cathedral City. Whatever's on special.
Aldi's version of Cathedral City.
Aldi number 5's a good mature cheddar. I use that a lot. Yeah.
I saw a picture, David, of said spread on your socials at the weekend. I think you were saying, "I'm ready to go for my long run," and I did clock a couple of hot cross runs. And then I thought to myself, is he introducing a seasonal problem there, or are they available year round?
This isn't something I've tested out because Ricky was on my podcast in the last month, but there was hot cross ones available at the weekend.
Okay.
What didn't work in that kind of big spread was the kind of bloody M&Ms. I thought that was an easy one. They didn't go down at all.
Okay.
So they're getting ditched.
Aye.
What's in a hot cross bun that makes it a hot cross bun, apart from the hot cross? Is it cinnamon that's through it?
I think it's the cinnamon.
Aye. Because you just get they wee brioche rolls. That's what I use, brioche rolls with butter and cheese. They're quite good as well.
Similar idea.
Aye.
Butter and cheese and jam.
Oh yeah, jam, cheese and jam's lovely.
Cheese and jam. There we go.
I also used Vim bars for a while. I liked them. When we did the River Tayway, Stephen, Pam Smith popped up with a Vim bar. We were both like, what's that? But she also had pies and cans of juice. We took the juice and the pies. We want to show what the Vim bar was. It was like new technology for us that day, but that's the first time I've seen them. But I did try them for a wee while, and then I sort of moved to something else. I'm actually going back to Active Root for a change.
I'm on that pH stuff too.
With the sodium or not? Just the carbs or the sodium too?
Carbs. Whatever Fiona's got in the drawer that I'm stealing. I don't know.
Because there's one's got the sodium in it, which I think the one that David's been playing about with, and then there's one that's just got the carbs only. So I had the sodium one, but it's too much salt for me.
Okay.
You know, so I'm going back to, or for the lap last year, cheese and rock salt. I'm going to go with that. But also Active Roots got the sports drink, it's got sodium in it too. So
you dropping chip butties, John?
I've not perfected that yet.
No, that was a bridge too far.
It was. I've not perfected that. It's not. I'm not only. So, all right, so you go.
I know it sounds like they'd still, up for trying new things that he's coming across. I love that because sometimes you can get a bit fatigued, where, well, Andy was a master of not getting taste fatigue with gels and stuff like that, but we're no Andy Berry. Thank Christ. Andy, I'm just joking. Sometimes the best nutrition ideas come just at the most unpredictable moments, when you're at the buffet table at the fling that everybody's left behind and you spot something.
It's something that somebody else had and you go, fancy that. But you're right, it can be a game changer. Yeah.
Well, the fling buffet table this year, so I saw at Inversnaid, I spotted some Morton lying around, so I took it and I kept it into the lakes.
Brilliant.
That's what we call schnaffling.
It was a drink mix, so when I was running the rest of the fling, it was like shh. I was like, I don't care. That's going, because that's about £5 worth of drink.
Definitely. Well worth the extra weight. And David, ultra running, mental challenges that come along with it. How do you handle the mental aspect of these? Well, I think we could use your Glasgow to Edinburgh experience maybe as a way that you said at the start about you can get stuff done.
Yeah.
You got to the finish line there, sounded like a mental challenge. Any advice for others on handling that aspect of ultra running?
I think that's probably one of the biggest things that you can get out of ultra running is being able to overcome things when it's hard, and just knowing that things are going to get hard. I mean, some people have got nice, easy, cushy life. Some people have got really hard lives, and that's kind of the way of the world. My life is fairly straightforward. So I find a lot of the kind of the challenge in ultra running, but I think going into it, realizing that you're particularly the harder things and the things that you maybe not done before in the challenge, realizing that you're going to come across hard things, that hard times when you think this is just awful. So let's mention Dockery. It's like, I'm just pissed off here. I'm tired. I've been through this night. I'm soaking wet. This is just rubbish. But at the same time, a voice in my head was going, well, that's fine. You're just having a crap moment. It's okay. This passes. And I think there's a thing that kind of translates to kind of normal life. It's like the impermanence thing where, there might be something that's rubbish, but over time it will go away if you can just stick with it. I think that translates across the kind of into real life as well. And I think that ability to know I can deal with this if I just keep my shit together, I'll be able to just deal with this, and then focus on what you can control. So in a race context, it's all right, have I ate enough? Have I drunk enough? You know, how's my soul? You know, am I kind of pushing too hard? Am I going too easy? Just that kind of check things. That's the stuff you can control. What you can't control is the weather. You can't control, you know, if you break your ankle. You know, that's what I've always said. It's like, you know, I'm probably not going to do a back guard because I haven't DNF'd and I don't intend to DNF anything. But I'm not going to DNF a race unless physically I'm unable to do it. So, and if I break my ankle, then there's nothing I can do about that. You know, so that's out of my control. What I can control is the training that I do and how I respond to just stuff that goes wrong. You know, and not every training session works either. Training sessions can be awful, and you think that just didn't work, and then that's okay. But as long as you can do what you control, and there's lots of in real life focusing on what you can control, you know, and what you can't control. It's outside it, so there's no point in worrying too much about it.
Well answered.
Mm.
Thank you very much. Like that. Good for thought in there. Definitely. Control the controllables.
And then there's also the bit about, you know, I see this sometimes as people placing value judgments on, I am good if I do this. And it's like, no, this, what actually just happened is you just a crap run. You know, it doesn't mean you're better or worse as a result of it. It's just data, you know, and then we just say, right, so what does that actually mean? It just means you had a crap night's sleep, or, you know, some other thing happened, but not placing too much value judgment on whether you're good or bad as a result of something as well.
Yeah, I always think, what can I learn from that? If
Yeah.
it was good, or if it was bad, or if it was indifferent, whatever, what can I learn from what just happened? And take that into the next one. There's always something that you can find. That's why I think the sort of journaling or keeping a wee note of some things that have happened in training is a good idea. What about from the coach perspective and from the athlete, from you as an athlete perspective? What's some of the new things that are coming around with regards to running that you find either exciting or you think, nah, no for me?
There's yeah, well, there's a few things. The the high carb revolution, you know, so like a David Roche type thing.
Yeah.
And we talk about high carb revolution, there's an actually what is high carb. And you know, I've had people come into the coaching and they've been having 20 grams of carbs an hour and thinking that was enough. And you're kind of going, right, we need to work on it. And I think it's all the whole concept of high carb is great, but it takes time to train the stomach to be able to take all of that in. So it's you know, it's potentially months of being able to train the stomach. So with the fluid, the salts, the actual carbs, and finding the stuff that works for you as well. So some carbs just might not work for you, different carb sources. So I think being able to train your stomach to take in all of those carbs on a consistent basis. So even on fairly easy runs, I try to make sure that I'm taking carbs on as well, and that's something that I've changed quite a lot as well. And it's not just your performance in the training and the races, it's the recovery from it as well. So if you get those carbs on board, you recover much faster, so therefore you can do more training. So the high carb stuff is huge. I think the understanding of the hydration and the salt side of it as well is massive. So yes, you sweat out salt, and that's got an impact on your cramping and things like that. But there's also sodium transports the glucose out of the carbs in your stomach to your blood, and that's something that people probably, and it's one of those, once you know, you know. So you need the salts to be able to transport those carbs into your bloodstream. And if you don't have those salts going in, that's when stuff can just sit in people's stomach, and that's we can give them GI distress. So there's the salt and the carbs. Something I'm interested in, but I haven't dipped my foot in, is the heat suit training stuff.
Mm.
It's floating around, and when I do when I do my uphill treadmill stuff, I think I don't even think I even need the heat suit. But I see people do this, and I get the point. I haven't gone down that road yet, although I may do at some point. Because for me, a lot of this, particularly for myself, it's a bit of a game to see what works.
Yeah.
And that might actually work really well, but I don't know if it will because I'm a horrendously bad sweater anyway.
Yeah. Well, I mentioned that when I saw you in the lakes, we were both literally dripping.
Yep.
Our tops were actually absolutely dripping. And we were spoken about how you replenish your salts. Just imagine you in one of the white suits, David. You take a bit of pair of incontinence pants on in the bottom half,
So
man. And got
I
that liquid in.
and so on my kind of my treadmill sessions, it's they're probably the hard run of the week. I go taps off.
Oh, we
Just
see
my
the photo. We see the photo of your
just
treadmill.
taps off, and my shoes, my trainers are squelchy at the end. It's absolutely disgusting.
Oh man.
Andy Berry likes a incline on a treadmill as well, didn't he? He spoke about that. He spoke about that,
Yeah.
about training. How do you train? You mentioned Stu Johnson earlier. Stu Johnson spoke about how he heat trained for the West Highland Way. It turned into a hot year. So you can do it in these suits. It's like the suits that the police investigators wear on a crime scene.
Yeah.
But you obviously
Hazmat
get
suits.
you obviously get like branded ones. You see folk who are training for like stuff abroad, like Western States and Badwater, they're all doing that sort of stuff. But it can be roasting hot in Scotland. You know, last weekend, the weekend before, with the Devil of the Highlands, and then you had the London and Manchester marathons, folk were faltering in the heat. You know, it doesn't have to be mega hot, but getting some heat training in. So, yeah, brilliant answer. Thank you.
Just imagining like these forensic white suits, right, and the elastic at the ankles that tight that kind of water doesn't get it. You end up just kind of looking like an Oompa Loompa.
Sloshing about.
Sloshing about when you're in sweat. Sake, man, what are we doing? I'm going to start golfing. Really? Oh man. Okay, where are we? Sorry. Yeah. David, favourite piece of running kit. Bring it back.
I like kit, and this is where there's a bit of attention with the Green Runners. Haven't bought that much new stuff. So I've done a lot of second-hand things, but I do like my kit. But the way I can justify or try to work out whether kit's a good thing or not is it going to enhance my experience of running, or is it just to get a new bit of kit? And I think there's something. I'm going to do two because I'm greedy.
All right.
The first one is my running pack, because of my first ultra I did, Run the Blades. I wore a Camelback pack, and I was just like chafed to hell. And I was like, it's just awful. And I've gone through a few different ones, but the Salomon Advanced Skin, I've got a 12 and a 5, and I wear a running pack for pretty much all my runs outside. So against that kind of hard training. So it just makes a difference. And I think a pack that works, you then don't even realise you're wearing it as much. So that's really good. But my favourite piece of kit is my watch, my Garmin, because we moved down to Irvine in 2021. And I didn't really know any routes, and the amount of different random routes I was able to chuck into my watch and just go out and find new routes in different places, I think was awesome. But I've got a couple of months ago, I got a new watch, updated my watch to a Garmin Enduro 3, and it is unbelievably good. I've had to charge it like twice, 2 or 3 times, I think. It's brilliant. Whereas on the Lakeland, my watch nearly died, and I had to charge that twice.
Yeah. It's something else. Control the controllables.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
I found a pal who had because my portable charger had run out, and I found a pal, Carolyn, to kind of I think yeah, she basically just charged my watch. I walked about with her until it was recharged.
So what
Aye.
pack have you got now? Sorry, what
It's
pack have you got?
the Salmon Advanced Skin 12. I've got a 5 litre one as well, which I use for just like normal runs.
Yep.
That means
Okay.
I can carry the soft flasks.
Loads. Soft flasks have changed as well. The way that you get them in and out, they're much better now. You know,
Yeah.
they sort of just slide in, but they stay. They didn't bounce, or they didn't sink into the pockets either. They're much, much better. Is there loads of storage, easy accessible storage in that vest?
Yeah, there's enough. I don't have much much mobility in my arms or my legs actually, to be honest. But there's enough. I've got certainly a pack of things of where things are, and then anything I don't need just goes in the back. But the Lakeland tourniquet fitted in easily.
Cool.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and it was
well.
it was fine. There was probably got more into it as well. There's loads and it's dead stretchy, which is dead cool.
See on the watch or Garmin or even the Strava and the mapping stuff. Do you know, that's what somebody asked me at the weekend, Strava Premium, is it worth it? And I said, aye, because it's like the price of a coffee a month, say. And I don't even really particularly know what I get. John, you're on Council Strava.
Mm.
But the mapping stuff for me alone is worth it for, exploring and finding out new routes and
So
go on about.
you can plot maps with the paid version.
You draw them on your app. I don't
Yeah.
know, but I don't know if that's a premium
It
only.
is.
Right.
Is.
So you
Yeah.
kind of just draw the map, and then when you save it, it now automatically syncs to my Garmin. So I sat in the car on Saturday morning going, don't really fancy running my usual route. I'll just draw a route on the app on my phone, save it, and then it appears on my watch. Again, like 4 seconds later.
I could save you a price of coffee a month then, because you can do that in Garmin Connect.
Yeah.
I know that.
That's
I know.
what I use. Aye.
But I didn't want to because I hear you. I hear you. But I quite like the boys at Strava. I think they do a good job with the free version. And this is me just kind of feeling that I'm giving them a wee bit of something off my.
I would also say that me personally, I didn't find the Garmin Connect app on my phone as easy to use as I do on a laptop, to do it that way is much easier.
Aye.
I can't comment on the Strava app because I've not used it. But Garmin Connect, I would do it off the cuff, sitting in a car in a car park.
They just revamp the Garmin app, but it's just underwent a bit of the Garmin Connect app anyway. Has had a wee bit of a facelift recently, but and I'm very rarely on the Garmin Connect, only just to check how bad my body battery is and look at shit like that. That's about it.
Okay, that's this week's tech segment complete.
It's done.
Segment. Ooh.
It's done. It's done.
Okay, right, David. West Coast Ultra podcast. What's the thinking behind it? What are you hoping to do, and how has your journey evolved since you started?
It was a strange one. I think so. When I first got into ultra running for that kind of the fan dance, and then kind of got sucked into the whole world. I was just absorbing stories from everywhere. So one of the guys in the Stuart and Ultra Run, Scott, he could put me onto your podcast. So that was floating around. There was Feet the Clouds. There was In It for the Long Run, Damien Hall's book, and there was lots and lots of stories. I think that continued, and then you just hear lots and lots of podcasts. And I thought, do you know what? Why don't I just do a podcast and see what happens? And it was literally pretty much about as thought out as that. And I thought, well, what is it that I would quite like to hear? You know, because I don't have a co-host, so I can do whatever I want, really. I thought, what are the kind of stories I would like to hear? So I thought a nice mix between kind of people who are these big kind of elite folks, so we can understand how their brains work. And I think there's quite not a danger, but you need to look at it in a way that those people can inspire you rather than you can compare yourself to them and say, look how rubbish I am at running. But what is the kind of mindset of the elite folk, and how does that work? But also what I like to do is kind of tell stories of folk who are local to here. So we've got a few really good fitness groups. So there's Fit Ayrshire Dads, there's Fit Ayrshire Masses, and there's loads and loads of folk that go running in there that have got really cool stories, just normal people. And what I like to do is kind of share those stories as well, because they're just as inspiring as the ones who are doing all these the crazy stuff. And I think that was it. So that'd be quite cool to just hear lots of folk stories. So you see the folk in the local groups going, oh, that's such and such. Wonder what their story is. And then you talk to different people and you go, oh, they'd be cool to speak to. So it's a kind of mix of the bigger, more well-known names and folk who are probably well-known down this neck of the woods.
Brilliant, yeah. It's that relatable thing, isn't it? You want folk to listen and go to inspire people, because the big names they obviously inspire people, but it's somebody local that's had a bit of a journey. And there's loads of folk, as you say, everybody's got a story, and it's just brilliant to be able to translate it. So, well, how long's the West Coast Ultra podcast been going?
I think since last May-ish. We're on me. We're on season 3, I think, episode 7 or 8, I think. So we're on 40 episodes, I think. I've not done it for 1 week over Christmas because I thought I'd only been putting out just so I kept up the streak, and then I had a break at the end of season 2 just because I thought, well, I've kind of been going for 40 weeks now, so I'll just take a wee break.
Good. Well, wish you the best of luck with it in the future, and thank you very much. You've had both of us on independently, so thank you very much for that.
Yep. And thanks for both coming on.
You're more than welcome. I know it's definitely different being on the receiving end, isn't it? It makes you think for 5 hours on a run the weekend. Yeah. Hiya, Douglas. Sorry, I got a visitor. Okay, well, we're homing in on the finale, and you'll know our final 2 questions all too well. David, dialect dictionary, door is swung open. Over to you for a word, a phrase, a term, an endearment.
Yeah, so there's loads have been on that I thought I was, because even last week's messages, I was like, that's just what we use anyway. Oaksters, I love Oaksters, but that's been done. So I had a kind of thinking and explore a doner. So not the kebab.
No.
I think the right way to spell it is Dauner. I might be wrong, but I think that's how I would spell it. And it means a bit of a wander about. So I'm going for a doner down the park. So you're gonna go for a wander down the park and just go out. So I'm going to go for a doner on the hills. So that might be your weekend training run.
I get it. I call that a donder. Wonder if that's a West Coast, East Coast thing. I don't know. I've always called that go for a donder. You go for a doner, because right away I was thinking kebab when you come in with that.
I think I go for a donder. But when I say it colloquially, it comes out with the D. So I'm going to head out for a doner. I'd say that.
Okay.
But I'm 15 miles closer to the West Coast, John.
Oh, that's good. So you're maybe in the
middle.
middle. You're in the middle of that. Yeah, you're.
I love that. Where is that line? Where is that line where a word becomes familiar or unfamiliar? It's so interesting.
It's about the Falkirk wheel, I think.
Do you think?
Aye, so it hangs a bit there.
It's like Stirling Services.
Yes.
Or like Bridge Allen is too east, eh?
It's
the other side of Stirling.
Aye, definitely.
Well,
definitely.
If you've got a feeling on that, then let us know. But yeah,
round about Castle Carey. Round about the arches at Castle Carey.
That's far down. That's like Hags.
Welcome to the Young Hearts Run Free podcast, David. This is what we do.
This is important shit.
I think that still seems quite east.
Folk will be going, the Young Hearts Run Free boys are going to draw a line down the map of Scotland, and that'll be the de facto
and he's done.
line. So, in fact, draw the line and then run it as an ultra marathon.
Run rounds.
Just like run the Hale End
Yeah,
for Scotland down the line. Type of thing like that. Fecker that does this stuff
Cobain,
in
Mark
Twitter.
Cobain.
He'd be all over it. He'll be
Race?
listening going, I've got an idea.
Race or not?
Race or not, exactly. Exactly. Anyway, thank you for that submission to the dialect dictionary. D has just been bulked up by 1.
Okay, now you've hinted at this song when
Mm.
before we even pressed record. We're on La Buff Buff Collection Volume 10, David. What track or tune would you like to gift to the Young Hearts Run Free listeners?
Well, there's nothing deep and meaningful in this. But the reason why I kind of picked this song was because the night before Glen Ogle last year, I was just kind of flicking through different YouTube videos of trail running, and I came across this video. And if you watch, and I'll put the link in the chat as well, so you can put that in the show notes. Watch this video, and you see all these amazing ultra trail runners running, and it's to a song by Adam Lambert called "Running."
Yes.
And I made sure that was on my playlist for that race, and then I slightly mistimed it because I cramped up. But the big kind of hill down to the end, I kind of thought, that's it, I'm pushing it. But it's one of those songs, particularly watching that video, that gets you really, really pumped. So that's my gift to you guys.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Adam
It is
Lambert.
added.
Adam Lambert running. This has been a whistle-stop tour of a chat, man. We've covered a whole load of stuff, but it's been brilliant. It's been great to get to flip the microphone on you and to see you sweat a wee bit in that seat being asked questions. So thank you very much for being up for that. But it's also been brilliant as well. I never knew that you said yourself it's been quite a recent thing, ultra marathoning for you, and to have started in sort of 22, or your first one was the Run the Blades. I'm not quite sure what year that was. Was that 22? And then you've just doubled up, but done quite a lot of stuff. And then, but big stuff to come as well when you're talking about what you've got this year, and then really exciting to see about the Bob Graham, to set yourself, because it's do something that scares you. I think that's a great thing. And I love that you're one of us. You're a dreamer. You've got a dream, man. So may I wish you health and happiness. May your dreams come true. I'm going to hand over to Stephen. Okay.
No, I'm just going to be dead quick, David. You said something that really kind of synced for me, and it was ultra running is a problem that we get to solve. Yeah, really good. Really, that in essence, it's about getting from A to B or whatever like that, but there's going to be ups and downs, and there's going to be little puzzles to solve along the way. And when you think of it with that mindset, it actually can change the whole concoction, so to speak, because we sometimes get hung up on, that's 50 miles, that's a long way to travel. But just go and hear a wee problem solving, Donna. Life will be good. So no, thank you very much, David. That was really good to hear from you and get a little bit more about your background, and yeah, enjoy solving all these problems that you've got on the horizon, man.
Thank you very much for having me on.